It's every man for himself, 'cause that's where the Grizzlies roll.
Hey everybody, welcome to American Idol Unaired. I'm your host, Bennett here. We've got another aired exception for you today, somebody that you did see on season 21 of the show. Please welcome Colten Glover.
So good to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's great to meet you. We saw your audition. We did not see what happened after the audition, so it's kind of a blend between our two formats here. First of all, how's it going? I mean, it's been a minute since we saw you.
Yeah, no, it's actually really good. I'm a college student here in OSU, Oklahoma State University, so kind of keeping busy with classes as well as trying to maintain music at the same time. So, but other than that, everything has just been going pretty smoothly. So yeah.
How did you hear about American Idol? I mean, did someone reach out to you or did you go for it yourself?
Yeah, so the other night I was actually watching Braden's podcasting with you, Braden King, and it was pretty much kind of the same way with me. They had a talent scout reach out to me through social media saying, hey, I saw a bunch of your videos and things like that, and we think you should, try out for American Idol. So we set like a schedule and everything like that. I think it was around probably mid-July, June, late June-ish. Started the process there. And I ended up only doing, I think it was like two of those, of the preliminary auditions, those Zoom call auditions. And, right after that, that last one, they had me sitting in like a separate meeting and stuff with this one guy, and he was kind of like going through different things. They didn't tell me if I made it yet, and he was just like, oh, hey, by the way, yeah, you made it through. And I was just like, okay, yeah, cool. Like like they didn't have anything like crazy to say or anything like that. They was just like, hey, just FYI, you made it. So yeah.
Sweet deal. I mean, what had you been up to beforehand? I mean, what was regular life? I know you're a college student. You were obviously pursuing music. You talked about the show. Pretty interesting story that you told about a friend kind of walking up to you saying, hey, you got to take this really seriously. But I want to hear the full backstory as far as how you really got into music in the first place.
Yeah. So on the show, that was like kind of my story. Like, my actual story, they posed me because throughout interviews and things like that, I talked about a lot about my faith with Christianity and things like that. And they kind of, posed me, they put me right after, that really like rock star kind of hard rock, like, genre girl that sang before. I think her name was like Rachel or something like that. I can't remember, but they put me afterwards because they're like, oh, Christian kid, he's gonna, shine light, is what Katie said, bring the light back or something. That's not really actually like the story that I actually talked about in terms of, my life or anything like that. Because throughout, high school, middle school, high school, and now I've struggled with ADHD, like severe ADHD. But I'll get to that in just a second. You asked about the kind of how music came into my life. So ever since I was a kid, my mom and dad, they always would tell me, we would always hear you singing in the car, singing with the radio, things like that, singing in the shower, everything like that. Like, that's the only place I would just always be singing throughout the house, just whatnot. I didn't know that I had a good voice. My parents really were just kind of like, like, okay. But, as time grew on, music became like, it was like a safeguard, I guess, for me. Because I mentioned during my audition, that, there's a song for every feeling and emotion that somebody is feeling. There's a song for everybody that will, hit them personally and things like that. And so, throughout my life, I would listen to, if I was in a sad mood, I would listen to, all these sad country songs. If I was in a happy mood, I'd be listening to pop, rap, rock, all these different genres and things like that. I'm a man who just, I don't hate any genres. Like, I just listen to every type of song, and yeah. But it wasn't until, I would say, kind of senior year. So it was when COVID hit. And I went to, I grew up a Christian, and I went to private school my entire life. I went to private schools my entire life. And that being said, our high school, very small class, graduated with 65 kids. And we would go on these school field trips every year, the week before spring break. So it was nice because we had like 2 spring breaks. It was awesome. But senior year, we went to New York, which was considered like the first city that COVID hit. And throughout the entire time there, I just, in the back of my mind, like I kept telling my teachers, I was like, yo, I really want to go buy like a ukulele or harmonica or something like that, just to fiddle around with, while we're up here and things like that. And sadly, we weren't able to, and everything like that. And whenever we got back, half the class had COVID and everything like that. It was a mess, but that's when everything went lockdown, and I ended up, being in my house doing classes online, Zoom. And what I would do is I would just turn my video off and my volume off, and I went on Amazon and I bought like a $40 ukulele. And that's where it kind of all started. First song I ever learned on that was Stay by Sugarland, the country singer lady group duo. And then after that, everything just kind of, I would learn songs from like 21 Pilots and just all these other different songs or anything like that. And it kind of, that was kind of the start, because I showed my dad, one of the songs that I, learned, and he was like, crap. He's like, you actually have a good voice. And I was like, oh, didn't know that. We, time flies by a little bit. I graduate high school, go to college here at OSU, Oklahoma State. And then I meet my roommate towards the end of freshman year, going into sophomore year. His name's Colten as well. By the way, I live with 2 other Coltens, so we're in a house full of Coltens.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So we call ourselves C cubed, because it's I'm spelled differently, but they but yeah. So I met him, and it was after we went out to a dance hall. I drove him back to one of the parking garages so he could get his car. And we were jamming out to music and everything like that. And all of a sudden he heard me singing. He was like, what the heck, dude? And I was like, what? He's like, bro, you have an amazing voice. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that. And he just, for like 3 hours, this guy would just play a song. He's like, sing to this. And I would do it. And he was like, dude, do you play guitar? I was like, no, I play ukulele. And he was like, we got to get you a guitar. So a couple weeks later, go to a pawn shop, and we get this old Washburn guitar. And it was like 100 to like 150. I can't remember exactly. But, we learned, I started, since I played ukulele, learning the strings and the chords and all whatnot wasn't too difficult for me. And especially the strumming patterns, that actually helped a lot since I learned ukulele. But, from then on, just started doing TikToks, man. And then eventually, here we are now, which is just, I mean, it's a blessing. It's also overwhelming. It's just everything in of itself. I mean, yeah.
There's sort of a sea of people doing this thing, and even people that aren't on American Idol, you just hear every day these stories of people that go from everyday lives to becoming these TikTok sensations or what have you. But when you really hear everybody's individual story, it becomes that much more fascinating and cool because, like, you really just had a regular day-to-day life, college student, picked up the ukulele, your buddy was like, hey, you're really talented, and you were just so unassuming about it. So when they reached out to you, Idol, and when you start getting attention online, it's like you probably never would have expected it from the beginning. People say, oh, I was singing since I was 2. It sounds like that wasn't your case.
Like I said, like I struggled. So, in middle school, it was 5th grade whenever my parents had me like diagnosed with ADHD and things like that. Because I was a mess, and throughout all of my educational life and whatnot, like teachers would always say I was interrupting class and never focused, things like that. And I, throughout middle school all the way through now, I was on probably like 4 to 5 different types of medications, like just switching back and forth because we could not find one that was right. Because like people don't actually realize like whenever you take like this ADHD medication, it makes you someone you're not. And the side effects are like, they suck. So, I can remember I took this one called Vyvanse, and that was the first medication I took. And, commonly with every single one, you're going to be losing your appetite. So like throughout, till now, I would just always be like losing weight and things like that. Cause I couldn't eat. I just didn't want to eat. And it was, so, I would take my medication, not eat. I would still be focused. And then weaning off of it, your emotions would go nuts and you'd get super sensitive. So like, I remember the time I switched was whenever I like yelled at my mom for like the dumbest thing. And I like screamed at her and like made her cry. And I was just like, no, we're not doing this. We are not doing this. We switched over to another one that just kind of didn't work. And then Adderall was the third one that we tried. And that caused me to have panic attacks and anxiety attacks and things like that through, in class and things like that. Like I'd be sitting down, listening to the teacher, and all of a sudden everything would zone out and I would just hear like a loud thumping of my heartbeat, and it would just freak me out. And I'd start, I'd have to walk out of class and I'd be hyperventilating. It was horrible. And, after that, I switched over to a thing called Focalin. And that, it's called, the scientific term is dexmethylphenidate is what it's called. And that actually is what I'm currently taking now. And pretty much only side effect, I would say, like these medications, it makes you, like how I said, it makes you feel like you're someone you're not. It makes you almost feel like a walking zombie, because if I'm on this medication, you're not going to see the old Colten. You're going to see someone who has no emotions, won't laugh at jokes, that's just completely just neutral, dead inside almost, just focused on doing tasks and things like that. And so, and it was horrible. It was horrible because, I mean, it still is horrible, but you kind of learn to get used to it. And throughout high school, I just, a person with ADHD, in their mind, I'm a paint a picture, or I'm gonna show you a picture kind of. And this is what I did in one of my interviews. It's slightly difficult to explain, but let's say you have a deck of cards. And let's say you have all the cards faced up, and let's say you tell the person that's sitting in front of you, I want you to organize these cards in suits. Okay. Obviously that person's going to do that decently quickly, within like a minute and a half or something like that. Or, you ask them to do it within, match all the numbers up, things like that, match it red to black. Okay. They're going to do it pretty well. In a person with ADHD, the way, like, how their mind works, those cards, instead of being faced up and being able to see them, those cards are going to be turned over and they're going to be on their backs, and they're going to try and solve the problem with the cards face down. So people with ADHD, it takes them so much longer to actually finish a task, just because of, how much their mind is racing just 24/7. I got told that analogy by one of the ladies at our school who deals with people with learning disabilities and things like that. And she explained it to me. I was like, that makes so much sense. Like, I never thought about it that way. And so that's just kind of how I try to explain it to a lot of people. But, going back to what I said in high school and things like that, how I would overthink things, I was always that social butterfly kid that was friends with everybody, but not everybody was friends with me. So like, I would always want to hang out with everybody and things like that, but I would never get, invited to things or anything. And, as time went on, I would see people walking down the hallway, looking at me and then talking, and I would always overthink and, believe they're talking about me, talking smack about me, things like that. And it really got to a point where, I fell into a state of like sadness / depression and things like that. Because also people with ADHD, they're prone to a lot of that stuff. But, I fell into, a state of, this sadness and depression and all whatnot. And there was one night, and I didn't say this on I didn't say this in the interviews or anything like that, but there was one night where I was in my room and I was on the floor, like on my knees, and I was just like crying to God. Why did you make me this way? Like what do you want from me? What's my purpose? Like I just don't know. Like I don't know anymore, and I'm like getting tired of it. I'm wanting to give up. Obviously I'm not going to do that, but I just, give me something. And I had my Amazon Alexa in the back, and it was just playing some music and stuff like that. And a song popped on, and it was It Won't Be Like This for Long by Darius Rucker. And all of a sudden, like, that started coming on, and I immediately knew what song it was. And I just fell into it, just tears, just bawling. And, in my mind, I thought that was a sign of, God wanting me to do something with music, and everything like that. Just the way he spoke to me through music and songs and things like that, how it's just been connected throughout my entire life. I just, that's kind of where it all kind of started, right there, really right then and there. And that was around junior year ish. So yeah, that's kind of the story. I can't remember the question you originally asked, but
You must have found your people through music, I'm guessing, as we continue talking about not just Idol, but being a musician. I assume that's kind of where this is going.
Yeah, very, very true.
I also relate to the overthinking and the walking down the hall, especially if you're in a small school, because you can kind of pinpoint each person and you know them by
Very
name,
small.
probably, right? You know every
Yeah, very
person.
small town.
And not getting invited to things, which it's always the cool, chill, nice, kind-hearted people where you hear the stories. And sometimes we all just go through stuff as kids.
Very true. And I mean, my story isn't, obviously it's not the saddest and stuff like that. I truly did wish that they would have talked about my ADHD and things like that on the show. Because I know that there was one of the guys I was interviewing, afterwards. He was like that was really great to hear and stuff. Because he was like I have a nephew that has ADHD, and then the lady next to him was like, yeah, my son has ADHD and things like that, and we need to find some answers about certain things and stuff like that. So it was like I was able to speak to them through through that. So it was I mean, really cool experience, and yeah. So
You're exactly right. It might not be the saddest story, but it's the story of so many people. And in some cases, it's not told enough. I think for a long time, the stories of people with learning disabilities have sort of been pushed under as like, okay, well, these aren't to be necessarily taken that seriously, or they're not as important. And,
yeah,
every story is important for its own reason, no matter how serious or tragic, less serious, more serious, but it's those side effects. It's mental health impact. It's the feeling alone. It's the isolation. There's somebody out there who gets that, who's been through that. And someone says, well, what is this? What is it you have? And people they also like to clump learning disabilities into one category and not sort of break
yeah,
down each individual one and say, okay, this is ADHD, this is dyslexia, this is ADD. So it's so important that every person with something who feels comfortable enough to speak up has that platform. And I can understand that it was disappointing for them to not show it. I thank you for sharing that story. And I think, it's so great that there are more people doing that, because certainly there's so many people that experience it.
you wouldn't be surprised. I pretty much most of my friends that I know, like I truly believe that everybody has a little bit of ADHD and stuff like that. Some though, like myself and a couple of my buddies, like it is 10 times like more severe and things like that. Like so yeah.
But wouldn't you agree
I,
that it often sparks so much creativity and like amazing stuff comes out of it?
so that I was about to, as soon as you started saying that, I was about to think about whenever I did my audition, afterwards. They didn't show this because they didn't put it as my story. Lionel came up to me, and he was like, wrapped his arm around my shoulder. He's like, I want to tell you something. He's like, you know, I read that you struggle with ADHD and stuff like that. He goes, I want to tell you something. And he pointed to all three of the judges. He pointed, I think it was like Katie, Luke, and then him. He goes, ADHD, and then just like tapped on my chest for like 10 times. And like as soon as he did that, like just chills went up my body, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is nuts. Um, and he he said we all have it. All he goes, all of these artists have it, but it's what makes us so creative with our writing and with our stage presence. It's what makes us artists. And he goes, it's truly a gift, which it is. Having ADHD, honestly, I'm like, now that I think of, now that I'm older and stuff like that, I'm so grateful to have it. There is times that it is a struggle, but other times it's the best thing ever. I was very, very thankful to have that, just especially Lionel Richie telling me that. I was just like, holy cow. But yeah, I was very thankful for all the judges and everything and what they said. There was really nothing bad said about me other than the whole hand thing.
It's actually interesting that Lionel took the time to read. I'm guessing it was probably on the piece of paper the producers had, because, if you're not talking about it, he's taking the time as a celebrity judge to read about you and find out more about you, which A, probably means that he really likes you as an artist and a person, and B, he genuinely might care about the job he's doing. And, people wonder how much time do they spend investing in these artists, and that's pretty cool that he really cared like that.
Yeah. So Lionel, He's my favorite judge of the three. I love all three of them, but he is by far my favorite. Just because of the experience that he's had, and he truly wants to connect with everybody, and give a good impact on these adults' lives and things like that. Whenever the things that they didn't air on my audition, so just throwing it out there. Whenever I walked in, and Braden said the same thing. Whenever you walk into that, like, no matter how confident you are or anything like that, you just black out. Like, you really black. Like, I can't remember a thing that was said. I cannot remember a thing that was said other than I had a gold ticket in my hand. I was just like, whoa. It wasn't until, the people interviewing me read off what they were saying. But as I watched the show, I could remember everything that was said. And, I remember Luke and Lionel both, saying how much they love my voice. And Luke said, he's heard a bunch of renditions of that Rock, Salt, and Ale song that's been sang, whether it be on the show or different covers, things like that. He goes, I haven't, heard it in the way that you sang it and stuff. And so that was really nice. But Lionel, told me after, he was like, you just have such a rawness to you that, and you have so much more to give, on this show and just in life and everything like that. Once he was like, once you like refine everything, just all other aspects of your singing, you're going to be really good. He goes, the grit and the rasp and just everything. He was like, I love it. And so that was just one of the really cool things to hear. And here in a little bit, I'll talk about the stuff he said after the round one of Hollywood Week, because he pulled me aside and talked to me for a little bit. So we'll talk about that here in a minute.
I want to know who you actually met as far as the contestants in your city. And I've been saying this a bunch of times now. I can't even remember because of the way they show it. They mash all the cities together, so it's hard to tell which city you're actually in. Where did you go?
I went to Vegas, Nashville, and New Orleans. I wanted to go to Nashville or New Orleans. Vegas was kind of my last choice. But I had two weddings on the exact dates of the filming on those other two cities. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go to Vegas, which I am so glad I did. Because first person I met was Owen Eckhart from Oklahoma State. I met him in the airport and I saw he had a beta shirt on. And I was like, what college you go to? He goes, oh, Oklahoma State. I was like, no way. I was like, I literally just came from there. And we became good buddies and we're still good buddies to this day. Just saw him the other day. And the next couple of people I met Trey, who's my flipping best friend on that show. I met Braden. I met Aiden Boyer. Trying to think who else. I met Michael Williams. PJ, Kyra, which, oh my, I'll tell you a funny story here in a second about that. I met, oh goodness.
So there's another guy with the last name Glover. Did you meet Caden Glover?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I met Caden Glover, which is funny. It is so funny because my brother's name is Cade.
So Cade,
C-A-D, yeah, C-A-D-E. And so whenever he was like, yeah, my name's Caden Glover, I'm like, dude, no way. I thought him and I low-key was researching and everything. If we were long lost relatives or something like that. But that guy is freaking cool. And then I met Beckett. I kind of really just in Vegas, I chose to stick with the country dudes just because I'm around country people all the time. And then once it hit Hollywood, I kind of branched out and hung out with a bunch of other people. I also met Dakota Hayden, who was on the last year. I think it was last year's American Idol. Isabel, Dumas. I met my good buddy Evan Honer, who's very famous on TikTok and things like that. Met him, and just Gabe Douglas, another big TikToker. I met a ton of people. But yeah, it was very, man, going there, getting there, and like you think you're a good singer until you hear all these other people sing at Idol. I remember my guitarist Jevin Lester and I, we were going down to rehearsal, and the person that was in front of us was Aiden Boyer. And oh my gosh, we hear this guy sing. He is playing piano, and like the pitch, that just his voice and how much he can project his voice is absolutely insane. And him and I, we heard him, and we like looked at each other, and we were like, "Ooh, okay, this is a lot different than what we thought." But man, I was gonna tell you the whole with Kyra. I remember, we had one section for breakfast, and that's kind of where we did our B-roll. That's where we just hung out for the entire day, pretty much. And breakfast ends at 7. So we have every single morning, we have to get up at like 5 a.m. And then we have to be down there, be kind of dressed and things like that. And you kind of got to be ready at around 8, 9-ish in terms of like what you're wearing and stuff. But my guitarist and I, we get up, man, and I think I'm in like a cutoff shirt, and I think he's also in a cutoff shirt. I'm in shorts, like socks and slides, and like my hair is just everywhere. Like, and I just go down there, man, and get like a big plate of eggs and bacon, and I'm just done. I'm not wanting to talk to anybody. And then here comes this Kyra girl, and she killed the last performance, but she walks up to us, and I'm just like stuffing my face with bacon and eggs. She sits down, and she is fully dressed, ready to go, makeup on, like honestly looking like a goddess. And like I look up, I like choke on my food, and I like start choking on my food a little bit. And she's like, "Hi guys, like, how's your morning going so far?" And I'm just like, I just give her like a thumbs up, and then and then I just pick up my plate, throw it away, and go back up to my room.
That's so funny.
Because I was like, dang, that was really embarrassing. But
Oh my God.
But yeah, man. There's so, I can't tell you how many stories I have just with people up there. So pretty much getting there to Hollywood. It's different now because I don't have my guitarist buddy with me, which I wanted him so badly to come. Trey's like one of the first people I see. So freaking excited to see him, and we get on a bus. We had to wait at the airport for like 45-50 minutes, almost an hour to get, because we were just waiting on these buses because there was so much traffic. But we get there, we get to the hotel. First thing, they have us just all check in and stuff, and then do a quick COVID test. And then right after that, it is straight to rehearsal. Like they just sent everybody straight to rehearsal who like whoever got there first and stuff like that. And so I went in there, and I'm trying to remember the dude's name, the guitarist guy. But the song I sang for my first round, the category round, was Hurricane by the Band of Heathens. And going into it, I thought this is going to be a great song. It's a freaking badass, like super, like kind of loud, things like that. Looking back, probably shouldn't have done that because of Wayne Hardy. And I know for a fact everybody was like thinking about him whenever, like the judges and stuff were probably thinking about him. The production team were probably thinking about him. And we get in there, I get in there for the rehearsal. We do all whatnot, nail it. I thought I sounded amazing. And then it's just kind of like smooth sailing from there, just, little interviews here and there. And then they make us do the, I chose, stage performance or stage presence because Lionel, back in Vegas, he was like, we got to figure out what to do with your hands. And like, and like what they kind of cut out, I remember is him saying, you look like Ricky Bobby up there. If you've seen Talladega Nights, like in the interviews, he's like, I don't know what to do with my hands. And he just keeps raising his hands up. So that's why I chose stage presence. And I had Justin Guarini from I think he was on the very first season with Kelly. And he had great advice, made me redo my song like 5 different times, and we nailed it. And pretty much then on, it was just kind of waiting for the other little B-roll things, side interviews, and then kind of waiting for the day. And I was the first day, and they had us in like sections pretty much. So they had like it was like they had us in numbers. So like there was like line 1 was like, I think it was like 7 to 8 people, 6 to 8 people throughout each one. And I was like number 7, I think. And the people that were on that one was Way. Way was on there, she sang like an original and
it was that Slade.
Dude,
that was
yeah, I was sitting out, yeah, because I was like backstage and like I heard everybody, like she was the first, I think she was the first to go, and I just heard everybody like singing her chorus, and I was like, okay, so she is going to be the one. If whoever they call to step forward, if they call her to step forward and I'm not in that group, I'm gone. Like, there's no doubt about it. So there was her, there was PJ, there was Samuel Harness, who was there with me. There was, I'm trying to remember. There's another country girl. They didn't air her. Trying to remember her name, but I can't right now. There's Danny Epp. Danny Epp was on there with me. The girl from Tulsa. Tulsa. And then a couple others, but pretty much we had I think we had one of the hardest lines, because every single person in our group crushed it. Like, everyone got standing ovations. There was not a single person that was left out that did not get a standing ovation. And the entire time we were all super worried and things like that. And I remember what's his name that just won last year?
Noah Thompson.
Yeah, Noah Thompson. So Noah Thompson was there, and I walk back over to the side of the stage and stuff like that, and he's sitting down, and I'm like, I sit down behind him, and he like turns around, and I'm like, oh shoot, it's Noah Thompson. He's like, just by the way, man, hell of a performance, blah 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 blah, and we just start talking about something. But they lined us up, and I got eliminated. So for everybody who's just been asking on social media and things like that, I got eliminated round 1 of Hollywood Week. That being said, everybody thought I was I got a standing ovation from Lionel, and just everybody was just clapping. Like, there was nothing I thought that went wrong on it. Just other, there's better competition and stuff like that. I remember afterwards, I looked after getting eliminated. I was on my phone and I had a Snapchat notification from Trey, and I see this video. I pull it up. This kid is like sitting in the crowd, just bawling his eyes out, and he's like, I love you, bro. Like, it was like, and then once I saw that, I was tearing up, and it was just a whole mess. But I remember after the first night, that was, they had my flight ticket and everything like that already ready, had to be ready to go at like 1 the next day, things like that. Like, I couldn't stay to watch Trey or any of the other performances, which sucked. But that night, after we finished, Lionel comes up to me, pulls me to the side, and I was just so confused because I was like, I thought I did good. And he, pulls me to the side and he's like, you did nothing wrong. He's like, you took my advice, what I told you, and you just blew it out the water. You blew it out the water. Like you did phenomenal. I'm so upset that you were not able to continue. And then he started telling me a story of him with his old band and everything, and how that was kind of the Commodores whenever he was with the Commodores, and how that being with them was like the foot in the door to just skyrocket. He was sitting there just on my side, and he's like, this is your foot in the door, and you need to take it and you need to run with it. And that, man, that was one of the nicest things, that I've heard in a while from another artist and things like that. It's just, he just gives the best advice. I just got to say. But the experience that you get on that show, just being around all these other singers, it's the weirdest thing. It naturally makes you sing better, naturally makes you a better singer. It's a weird concept and it's a weird theory. I may be wrong, but that's kind of what happened with me. I became a better singer just being around all these people. And I have no regrets on that being, from doing anything on that show. It was one of the best opportunities and one of the coolest things that's happened in my life. One of the last stories I wanted to kind of share with you, which in my eyes, like, just blurs the entire Idol performance and things like that, is there's one of the contestants, and I'm not going to name her or anything like that. It is female. We became really good friends in Hollywood, and we went to lunch and everything like that, grabbed dinner and everything, and we were hanging up in my hotel room talking, and she started asking me questions about my faith and Christianity and things like that. And she was just confused because, I think back when they were younger, their family was Christian and everything like that. But, as time went on, they weren't. But, they started asking me questions and things like that about my faith. And, I showed them a couple videos and things like that, and just kind of try to explain it to them as best as possible. And I guess God was speaking through me that night. And, this person now, I believe they got baptized, and I think they're, they continuously are going to church and everything like that, and starting to kind of grow their faith, which is, in my opinion, it's so much better than being aired on TV. Just that. I think, honestly, I think that was my kind of, that was God's way in my eyes of, that was the reason he put me on the show. I don't think it was because of music. I don't think it was because of anything else. I think it was because of that one little moment that I was able to, touch someone's heart like that, and, be able to change their lives, which is really cool. When we were talking, I showed her some songs and everything. And I played a song called Gratitude by Brandon Lake, from Maverick City. And whenever I played that song to her, just like, she just started like slowly tearing up and things like that. And I just think it was cool. I just think it's cool because, God put music in my life to help me out. And so in my eyes, my calling is, I got to return the favor and try and put music in other people's lives to help them out. So that's just kind of that's my thoughts on everything. And yeah, the connections and the experience and just the people that was brought into my life um, through that, and the way God kind of made everything flow together. Um, it was just, I mean, it was just perfect. It was just perfect. And like I said, there's nothing I would have done differently. Nothing I would have done differently. So very, very blessed, very grateful for that experience. So yeah.
What have you been up to since Idol?
Yeah. So since Idol, man, we I've been people are messaging me. They're like we need you to release something. Like come on. And so I'm actually I'm in the works of have a I have a ton of songs written. Like we have a ton of like almost finished songs like on our notes app on our phone and things like that. You know, probably a little bit like a good like 30, 40 something. I can't count, but I got two to three that are in the works that we are hopefully here soon. I'm going to get recorded, and hopefully I'll be able to put those out throughout this summer and things like that. So we got that going on, and since the show, I mean, I got just connections. Connections are starting to pile in and things like that, which is a really, really big deal. And it's I'm very, very grateful for the opportunities that they're wanting to give me and things like that. I'm probably going to be trying to get down to Nashville here soon and get connected with them and everything like that, and just see more of the Idol people, because half those people are from LA or Nashville. So yeah, I mean that's kind of been what's been going on. I've just been doing school and music. You know, tonight probably gonna go two-stepping at the dance hall tonight, and tomorrow we got a Randall King concert and everything. But we're just living, man. We're just living. That's what we're trying to do. Trying to take everything one step at a time. Try not to overthink things too.
By the way, wanted to ask a little bit about your guitarist, because we did see you with him on the show and you mentioned him, and that's, I'm sure, another connection of yours. So can you tell us a little bit about that partnership?
Yeah. So Jevin, he I met him whenever. So he's friends with my roommate Colten Higgins, the one that kind of pushed me with music. And it was one night, maybe probably sophomore year, I think. Yeah, because he had moved into a new apartment and things like that. So it was like sophomore year, I think. My buddy Higgins was like, "Hey, I want you to." We had just written kind of like part of a song, and he was like, "Hey, I need you to." Calls me up. "Hey, I need you to come over to the apartment. I got my buddy Jevin, who's a guitarist. He's gonna, try something out." So I go over there, I meet him. Honestly, one of the coolest and like chillest dudes on this planet, Jevin. I mean, he is so fun to hang out with. That kid, he can be relaxed and just not say a word, or he's just bouncing off the walls with us. But and I mean, and the kid's only, I think, 19. He's been playing for like I think 5.5 years, and he is like better than most guitarists I've seen. This kid is just so talented. And I trust that kid with whatever. Like I'm pretty sure that kid is going to be with me throughout until the end. But we met him. I met him. He started playing some stuff for that song that we wrote, and then kind of as time went on, we would hang out more, and then he would do TikTok videos with me and things like that. And then come to find out, his dad is actually the drummer for there's a red dirt band called The Great Divide, kind of here in Oklahoma and Texas and things like that. And his dad, his name is JJ. He's the drummer for that band. And so I just like his entire family is just really just musically inclined. Just everybody is, can sing and play an instrument and things like that. But yeah, so whenever he was with me during the Zoom call for Idol. He was in the corner and everything, and he played guitar for me and things like that. And then he just kind of sat in the corner. And once he heard, I'm going to Vegas and things like that, I kind of looked at him and I was just like, "Do you want to go?" And he was like, "Heck, is that a question? Is that even a question?" So yeah. So he came up there with me, and we had a blast. His favorite person on the show is Caden Glover, by far. He loves that guy. So
That's cool. It's funny too that you got a brother named Cade or Caden is your brother.
My brother's name is Cade, so
Okay.
Cade. Yeah.
So we're actually going to play a clip of one of your songs. I'd love if you could tell us about it.
So this song, Mother Nature country song, or some people, as I've seen on, articles and things, people call it Mother Nature. I was living in an apartment, my junior year college, and one of my roommates, Adam, he comes up to me one night and he's like, "I got an idea." I was like, "All right, shoot it. Let's go. What's up?" And he tells me, he goes, "We're going to give ourselves like an hour of drinking." He goes, "We're going to give ourselves an hour of drinking and then an hour of writing. We're going to see who writes the best song." And I was like, "What do we win?" He goes, "Nothing. But we're just going to see who wins, who writes the better song." And so, I was thinking about, we have a place up in Montana, and I was thinking about all these different hikes and mountains and things like that. And just, I started just kind of writing stuff about up there. And then all of a sudden it kind of turned into, I started talking about Mother Nature and just how crazy she is. Like last night, I was going to a concert in OKC, and on the way, we had two tornadoes coming to we were going straight in between. There was a tornado on like one side, and then like almost like a tornado on the other side. And then in between, there was like hail. So we were driving through hail for a minute, and wind was just blowing us everywhere. And so I started writing about, Mother Nature and how crazy she is, and I kind of incorporated Mother Nature. I kind of made it almost like a metaphor in terms of, you're also talking about a girl, just, a girl who can be super crazy sometimes or just super nice. So that's kind of the idea I started getting in my head. And so that's kind of what I kind of came up with. So yeah, this is Mother Nature country song.
That's awesome. And we're going to fade out with that song at the end here. Anything that you want to tease about stuff that we can expect in the future? You mentioned like 2 or 3 songs. I'm kind of curious.
Oh yeah. So one of the songs I'm writing, it's I think the chorus is on my social media right now. It's with John Wayne Hatfield, who I believe, yeah, they aired him. Yeah. And him and I kind of had an idea with Jevin, and we shot it over to him, and he changed it up a little bit, but it's a song called One Person Bed. And it's kind of, it's a tough one. It's going to be a tough one for people to hear, for people to listen to, because, it's about this guy who's packing up his ex-wife's things in their house, and he's kind of reminiscing on the good times that they had and all whatnot. But he's also, upset about, because in the song you hear, "I wish I could take back all the stupid things that I said." And you think, in one aspect, like throughout the entire song, you're going to be thinking, okay, either like this girl like cheated on him, or this guy, said something, that made them break up or something like that. But in the end, you kind of realize the girl actually takes her life, which is it's kind of like, it gives off the Fire Away Chris Stapleton vibes a little bit, but it's going to be very sad. It's going to be very sad. We're going to try and lighten it up just a little bit to where it's not super, super sad. But I just kind of wanted to shed some light on, song about suicide and things like that. And the one song that I'd written with Jeff, or I'd written in the past, the song that I met Jevin on, that we were writing, that one's actually going to be that one's about soldiers that have PTSD and things like that, because that song's called Angels Cry, and that's another tearjerker and stuff. So I kind of like to write songs about things that people don't really talk about. I mean, people don't talk about all the time, and I just I want to try and write as many stories and things like that as possible. I got another one that I'm starting to write up. It's called Puppet Strings, and it's kind of how bad habits and addictions kind of control our lives, like puppet strings do, and so yeah, those are just kind of a few little ideas and things that I'm getting going here in Oklahoma.
Bro, just as a regular guy who doesn't know anything about being a professional musician, let me just say I think you're a brilliant artist. I'm not Lionel Richie, so I'm just a guy that's sitting here with a microphone, but I think you're freaking brilliant.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah.
I see the ideas moving. I get what you're doing. I feel the desire to, it's what makes you an artist, to write the songs with the stories that either aren't being talked about or not enough, or just, you want to stand out because you want to make a difference with your music, right? It's like when we talked earlier about the story of having ADHD, because it's not being talked about enough. You tell stories about things, even if you haven't experienced them yourself, to make a difference by telling the stories. That's what makes you an artist, and a brilliant one.
Thank you, man. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, that's a very, very kind thing to say. So it really does mean a lot to me. So
I appreciate your time, and I want to know where people can follow you, stay in touch, shows, music, releases, anything like that you got going on.
So you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and I believe Twitter as well. I'm not really on Twitter a lot. And then I think also Facebook. You can find me at Colt, COLT, Glover, GLOVER music. And so I'm on those platforms. And in terms of shows, I got one. It's just a little. It's for a fraternity. I got one for like a fraternity event before. We have a music festival up in Oklahoma every year called CAFRI, and there's a fraternity event that I'm going to be doing for that. I'm going to be doing some open mics, around Oklahoma, or like kind of the Stillwater area. I'll be kind of here soon. I'm going to be branching out into Tulsa, OKC, just to, restaurants, things like that. But I will for sure be posting all of those things, and when on my social media, and everybody will find out, what time, where, at. So yeah. So I appreciate the questions, man, and the time of just, you just kind of, I feel like most of the time I was talking, you're just sitting there, just taking it all in. So I really do appreciate you listening, man. As I'm really thankful. So
appreciate your time, your energy, and I appreciate everybody for listening and watching. If you guys want to follow us, Instagram, TikTok, Unaired Podcast, make sure that you subscribe if you have not already. Wherever you're listening or watching, leave us a comment, review, tell a friend. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Colten, thank you, my friend, for being a part of American Idol Unaired.
And it's colder than a glacier. There's a step foot in her home. It's every man for himself, 'cause that's where the grizzlies roll.